Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. And our guest is Rom Krupp, founder and CEO of Marketing Vitals. Welcome to the show, Rom.
Thank you for having me.
So a little background on Rom and his company. Marketing Vitals is an award-winning company providing game-changing analytics software for restaurants of all shapes and sizes. They are the winner of 4 prestigious big awards from the Business Intelligence Group. Marketing Vitals is a software platform enabling restaurant owners, consultants, and the C-suite of national and international restaurant franchises to pinpoint what's working in their organization and what isn't. With nearly 20 years of experience working with over 400 brands and assisting with technology systems, Rom Krupp is now in the business of helping restaurants turn data into dollars. He was named Executive of the Year by Big and speaks at industry events, sharing his groundbreaking vision, perspective, and insights. So, Rom, tell us all about Marketing Vitals.
Sure. So we started Marketing Vitals because of a need in the industry to consolidate all the different data that restaurants generate, from the point of sales, the email clubs, loyalties, reservations, coupon redemption. And there was a challenge in the vertical of not just getting into one place, but really understanding causation and correlation. And there's a lot of moving parts that are happening beyond the data the restaurant itself captures. You've got industry data, you've got weather, you've got different trends that are currently affecting the vertical, from health, push towards the gluten-free world, and factors like that. So it's very hard for restaurants to get clarity of what's really influencing their customer, what's changing their business, and how effective are their employees in capturing the opportunities that are in the business. So that's what we do in Marketing Vitals. It's really using machine learning technology to understand causation correlation, and then apply that into predictive learning and predictive testing. And that way you're not experimenting as much on your guests. You're using data to really predict what will happen before you do it.
That's kind of cool. And you just recently announced a new partnership with TDN2K, transforming data into knowledge. So how will the platforms end up working together?
So TDN2K, with their black box intelligence platform, are really leading the industry in industry data, right? And what's happening in the vertical and different DMAs, what's really moving. The challenge, obviously, with that is if you can't correlate it to your data set quickly, if you can't learn from that of what positive movements are really attributed to what you're doing and what negative movements are out of your control, it's very hard to then do predictive and experimental on that data. So the first thing we're doing is we're solving to our customers a way to see how their data really looks like in a bigger perspective when they analyze a marketing impact, when they analyze a menu change. It gives that additional perspective using the industry data. The second thing is, as we work on our partnership with TDN2K, how do we make the data that the industry gets even smarter? For example, you might see in the industry today that beverage sales or soft drink sales are in the decline, but it's very hard to understand why. And we can give that additional context to their data of why. How much of that is health versus how much of that might be financial. And through the data, through the basket behavior, how people purchase, you can start understanding how much of that movement or decline is attributed to factors like health and how much is attributed to factors like reducing spend.
Okay, so just to be specific on the type of data you're collecting, like, are you analyzing the dishes that are being ordered as well?
Everything, down to the way customers modify their food. Because the way they modify their food tells you a story about their behavior, their preference. So not just you ate a burger, but what did you do to that burger? Did you remove ingredients? Did you add ingredients? So at the lowest level, it's learning every single customer you have, and then start understanding why they're doing what they're doing.
Does it track it right down to the actual customer, or you're just looking at data as a bigger sample?
It can go down to the customer if the specific restaurant group has data to capture who the guest is. So it might be anonymous guest, meaning we know this credit card token has been here 20 times, but we don't know who it belongs to, and we can't just go get that data easily. So we're just tracking, okay, this credit card has been here X number of times, and the patterns show that this customer most likely works nearby. They have a certain price elasticity in their spend. They are maybe vegetarians. But then if they have email clubs or loyalty clubs or things that customers opt in their information, then we can triangulate all those transactions together and really create a pattern about individual guests. So both on the macro level, what are your guests doing overall? And also on the micro level, what individual guests are doing.
This is kind of cool. It's kind of predictive analytics. And I was reading, I forget which book, where they talk about Target doing this. Target sending out coupons to, it was like on the news and everything, because Target kind of collects all this data that we don't even know they're collecting. And they sent out coupons to a young girl's house for having a baby because they knew through predictive analytics that she was pregnant, and her father freaked out saying, why would you send this young girl information about like buying diapers and stuff? And it turned out she was pregnant. Like they
not a good way to find out about your daughter being pregnant.
Right. But it's interesting. It was all, I mean, yours is kind of a different spin on it. Nobody necessarily cares about being, I don't care if anybody knows what kind of food or how I'm modifying my order, but it's kind of really cool. It seems like every restaurant needs to have this in order to have a future.
Look, it solves two major concerns. First of all, the cheaper it is for me to deliver you the right message, the cheaper it is for you to buy my product. So if my cost of acquisition of a new guest reduces itself through better optimization of what messages resonate, what marketing works, what my guests want, then obviously I don't have to spend as much on media and marketing and hope to capture through multiple messages some additional guests. So the ability to pinpoint really helps the guests. So big data helps the guests by reducing the cost. The second part is, and this is very important, the only thing that makes a difference between a restaurant or any brand communicating to you, the only difference between spam, right, and relevancy or not spam is relevancy, right? It's how is that message appealing to me? So if I just send you a generic, come try our burger, and you're a vegetarian, I'm spam to you.
Right.
You really have to understand what I eat, why I come to your restaurant, what drives my decision. So relevancy is the differentiator between a restaurant communicating to being spam or not spam.
And you talk about customer interception, that basically restaurants that are using Marketing Vitals, they have an opportunity to not lose a customer to a competitor because they better know exactly what the customer wants and needs.
Well, the concept of interception, let me kind of step back. Today, most of the marketing brands do really falls into two major buckets. It's either awareness. I'm putting billboard, I'm taking TV, I'm taking newspaper ads, trying to make people aware that I exist and what I offer. The second type falls more into acquisition type, incentive type. You know, I'm going to give you coupons, I'm going to give you loyalty, I'm going to try to get you to come more often through incentives. So more of acquisition type. But really, interception is a new way to do it. Interception is about one-on-one marketing. It's about being relevant. It's about not changing your behavior, but knowing when you need my services the most, and then communicating to you with the right message at the right time to intercept your transactions before my competitors had a chance. So if I know you're going to be in a certain place at a certain time, and there are 20 different restaurants you can eat, but I can know that in advance, and I can communicate to you a relevant message. You'll make a decision before you arrive to that area to eat in my restaurant before my other competitors even have a chance. So all the billboards in the way and all the beautiful signage outside the restaurant doesn't work anymore because you already made the decision.
How are you getting in front of them?
So big part of interception is obviously social listening. You need to be able to listen to what people are doing, and then pattern learning. So it's a combination of two things. For example, if you only come to my restaurant on Monday to Friday at lunches and I never see you otherwise, it's safe to say you work nearby. So like promoting to you a holiday special might not be a good idea because you're not going to be there. But I'm not going to be there Monday to Friday. And I'm using very basic examples. It can get extremely complex. So I can be relevant to you by knowing that you typically eat between 12:30 to 1:30. You typically eat certain products. So 30 minutes, 45 minutes before, I'm going to actually remind you or send you an incentive to come eat lunch at our restaurant. So that's a simple example.
Mm-hmm.
If you add social listening to it, hey, I'm going to be at a basketball game downtown today, or maybe you picked up a pattern that they're season ticket holders based on correlating the schedule of the local basketball team and when they're typically in that area. And now you have the ability to know when the next game is and communicate to them ahead of time that on their way to the game, or since we're near the stadium, stop over at our restaurant, even leave your car here and walk to the stadium, and you'll save the parking fee, but eat at our restaurant to do that. So I can even intercept the parking fee that might be more expensive than dining in my restaurant if I can create that proper message.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Now, one of the pieces to your program is you have an employee motivation app as part of it called Incentivize Me. How does it work, and why is it so effective?
Sure. So you've got a lot of planning and a lot of execution and marketing campaigns, and it all boils down at the end to once the guest walks in the front door, it's the front of the house employee. It's the cashier, the server, the bartender that are your face now. They are supposed to continue that messaging. The challenge you have is normalizing data to really understand how much of the behavior a guest is doing is influenced by the team members. And the industry has always struggled with not just normalizing it properly. They do things like divide the sale of an item by the hours worked.
Mm-hmm.
But that implies that every hour is equal opportunity. And we all know an hour is a variable in restaurants. You know, Monday 12 to 1 is not a Friday 12 to 1. So what we have done is we found a way to normalize behavior down to the employee, that we understand how much of the the sales is really their salesmanship versus how much is something the customer would have done anyway. But now starts another challenge. You have all this information. You finally know in clarity who is performing well. It's a big task for operation to manage thousands of these employees every day and tell them what they're doing wrong and educate them. So Incentivize Me bridges the gap between the data to the employee itself. So it sits in the hand of the server, let's say. And every single shift, when they're done, it actually tells them what they did right, what they did wrong, how much tips they missed out on not doing certain things they could have, based on opportunities we know the guests would have accepted.
Right.
I can do gamification incentives. I can do charity drive incentives where I feel them more connected to the brand. So this constant engagement of the team member understanding where they're at, how to improve, how to personally impact their income, allows them to then deliver the message, deliver the marketing that the restaurant wants, and then the execution doesn't fail once a customer walks in the building.
Wow. So how easy is the system to use for somebody that decides tomorrow that they're going to start with the program?
You know, data is a complicated thing, but we really focused a lot on building what we call a consumer-grade experience to a business problem. So you don't have to be a business analyst to use Marketing Vitals. A lot of our customers can go live in a day or two with their whole network of restaurants, with their whole brand, because we created connectors to the most common technologies used in the restaurant industry. Mm-hmm. So we support 14 of the largest point-of-sale providers. We support the most common reservations, loyalty, email club systems. So for most of our customers, it's a turnkey solution to get the data in the system. And then with very minimal training, they can start being very effective with data. So a lot of our customers, 24, 48 hours, they can start using the system and start making decisions on it with minimal training.
And overall, what do you see as the biggest reason a restaurant would need to gather and analyze the data in the first place?
So the most expensive things a restaurant can ever do is experiment on their guests. Well, every time you experiment on your guests and you do things that affect your guests, you run the risk of losing them. And it's very hard to quantify it as just a standard ROI of saving on misused marketing campaigns. But how do you expense that? How do you ROI that? And that is very critical. So the more predictable you can be, the more you can understand what makes your guests turn negative or positive before you actually experiment on them, the more successful you're going to be. Because if you start churning your guests, if you start experimenting too much on your guests and losing them, you're going to run out of customers. Every restaurant is limited to a certain, size of market or radius of service. Unless you're in an airport, which is constantly just transit crowd, you've got a certain base. we found that some of our restaurants, 300 regulars represent 60% of the revenue of a restaurant. You can't afford losing them. So it's very, very important that you apply predictive, you apply regressive learning, you do things that help you minimize the negative impacts on your guests and experiment on your guests. And that's why it's so important to have tools like ours.
Wow, we have with us Rom Krupp. He is founder and CEO of Marketing Vitals. Ron, how can our listeners find out more about your company?
So obviously, our website is like our company, marketingvitals.com. And you can also find us on all social media, vitals_com, Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. It's just Marketing Vitals.
Marketingvitals.com. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Rom.
Thank you.
That's all for this edition of Get Real. Join us again next weekend for more.